Shri Arnab Goswami, if I may call the CNC of the Republic Media Network, General Dushyant, DG Claus, ladies and gentlemen, it's a matter of great delight for Operational Commander to be present at such an innovative and a unique event. I think our compliments for the very endeavor and the intent behind this. He shared the anecdote, I think, during the talk with Mr. Parikar, and I was uniquely lucky that I was the first defense attaché to South Korea for a little over 4 years, and as a colonel had a weekly interaction with then Defense Minister Parikar. That was the level of the involvement, and I think the vision that he has, we were really at a loss when he went away, but I am glad that we see the realization of this vision now. So what I shall endeavor is over the next few minutes to give you a visual and an anecdotal account into the address of this topic for the panel discussion 2, which is multi-domain operations. Is it a new way of war fighting? So from the trenches of history to terminals of today, the battlefield has changed. However, the purpose has not. Multi-domain operations do not replace men with machines. Rather, the intent is to unite the mind, the matter, and the mission. So is it even a new way of war fighting, or is it an evolved or a revolutionary way of evolution that we are seeing now? We shall endeavor to analyze that over the next few minutes. Next. Much has been said on the conundrum of war fighting as it is obtaining, but if you see geoeconomics driving geostrategy now, and from the first speaker, the number of conflicts, as you see, have just gone up to 110 from 30 odd major ones which were covered earlier. But if I may just take your attention to the left top, wherein says we are seeing a unipolar world in the military sense, or maybe bipolar in the economic sense, a multipolar in the political sense, and many polar in technology sense. The stakeholder there of state to non-state, others, if you see supranational, Dwivedi with $4 trillion of revenues beats the GDP of more than 80 countries across the world. If you see on the right side, democratization of technology, and Mr. Baba Kalyani spoke of weaponization of not trade, but in all resources. The commercial of the self-availability of hostile technology to even a single lone wolf. The cost of attack vis-a-vis cost of defense. The strategic implications of tactical operations given the battlefield transparency, and the importance of influence operations cannot be overemphasized. On the left bottom, the drivers. We have talked about the leaders, the societal fissures, the need for resource control, and the rapidly changing strategic alignments. So all in all, what we are seeing are blurred boundaries, and I think it was spoken about the decade of militarization. So this issue of comprehensive conflict spanning across all 5 generations of warfare. Next, please. As it comes closer home, I think Operation Sindoor, I need not dwell on the individual aspects, attributes. There is a separate session for that. But to give you the perspective, who could have imagined that in a developed state like Punjab, the markets were all open, the economy was in full flow, the schools and the colleges had their exams on, the farming and cultivation, harvesting was just starting, and yet you had issues of missiles and drones flying overhead. From network-centric warfare to network-centric operations, I think what we saw was manifestation of the end or end-based operations. What you are wanting to see in terms of the objectives from the network-controlled operations. You saw manifestation of hard, soft, and smart. And if I may say, a little evolved form of sharp power in the entire totality in that objective which was set here. Next. Yeah. So it was manifestation of a transformative multi-domain operations given the overall politico-military aim which was set for this operation. In 22 minutes and 88 hours, I think the accomplishments are unparalleled if you go into the number of targets which were engaged and all. A lot of you are aware of it, and that I think will be covered subsequently. So in the 3-front war, when we talk of it, whether it is the principal adversary we talk of it, collusivity angle, the internal security or the rear area security within the country, and the half dimension of information warfare or perception management, I think all of us are looking at 3-dimensional warfare. So what is the essence of multi-domain operations? Next. If you see, earlier command and control was hierarchical, now it is real-time fusion. The manifestation was quite visible. The OODA loop, instead of segmented, is continuous and shortened. The planning, instead of linear and sequential, is shifting from battlefield to battle space. The domain of physical and positional now is maneuver and simultaneous, and this maneuver is not on physical domain, is more on the cognitive domain, if I may say. The operations were deeply planned and predictive, now they are dynamic and overlapping. The concentration led to attrition and territory, whereas it is now cognitive and temporal. The means were platform-centric, and now we are going from network to effect-centric operations. Information, as it was covered by the previous, I think in one of the Q&A sessions by the former army chief, was a supporting action. Now it almost holds the decisive edge in multi-domain operations. Earlier, there were limitations of technology. But now when we talk of multi-domain operations, they are enabled by the niche technologies of AI, others, the performance enhancing materials, the communication, identification, targeting, manufacturing, logistics, and what have you. And in the midst of this is the human. Next. Multi-domain operations remains a national effort. For these afford in an environment of collapsing boundaries and domains with fluid battle spaces, one mission, many means, one mind, many dimensions, thereby generating immense or infinite possibilities of what permutation combinations can be adopted in order to achieve the objectives. We need to skill, know, understand, and endeavor. The objective is not in terms of just physical or an attribute, it is more to do with the mind. The battle space from extreme of non-contact, non-kinetic to the other extreme of contact kinetic, the aim is to win the war before the war. If forced into contact kinetic, the endeavor is to have victory with less or least casualties in the earliest possible time frame. So is it at all new to military or Indian military, if I may say? Those of you who would recall 1971 operations for Dhaka, a strength of 3,000 Indian soldiers caused the capitulation of over 30,000 Pakistani soldiers guarding the then capital of East Pakistan. The war, 13 days. So multi-domain operations are not new. But what is new to that? We will cover. Operation Sindoor, I am sure all of us are very familiar. We had battle-proven structures. They continue to evolve in their design. Very interesting attribute of conflict termination when you undertake operations. I think India is one of the very, very rare examples wherein if you go back into history right from 47 till date, not only internally but externally, all our conflicts have reached resolution, unlike the West involvement in Vietnam, Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, Russia, Ukraine, West Asia is, I think, all too obvious. So the endeavor is to look at shaping of the battle space, promoting asymmetric or a lateral thinking in interdependent domains. Some work is going on. However, next, there is a transformative challenge. If you see the graph, the technology manifestation for purposes of illustration is kept at X in terms of time. It is from linear going exponential. The leadership adaptability is the next which lag behind by a certain, in this case, 10x. And the most difficult, the organizational changes, which indicate that issue of processes is what is lagging behind by yet another 2.5 or 3 times at 25x. If you compare this with the cycle of adaptation from the time a new technology is triggered off to the time the plateau of productivities, our cognitive span takes it to 25 to 30 years. So it is not just merely adequate to procure or fabricate cutting edge technologies. Unless it can be integrated in the operations on ground, changing your tactics, techniques and procedures, I think it would be as good as handing over the technology to the enemy. So from the voice to the virtual, the direct to the indirect, or analog to digital, factor this in the issue of disinformation. There was a time when they said pictures don't lie. Is it really true now? From data to information, now we are transiting to the cognitive domain. Next. So are we there? Have we started? It is and shall always remain work in progress. Capabilities and capacities are a matter of journey because there is no destination to arrive here. The way the world is shaping up, the pace of it has picked up. So if you see the entire thing, what we endeavor as part of the developed nation vision in 2047, the envisaged role for the armed forces. The modernization plan of the Indian Army spanning all 5 verticals as are laid out, from restructuring, modernization, integration, systems and processes to human resources, the center of gravity at all under the decade of transformation. On the left bottom side, if you see techno commanders, so what we are looking at, commanders used to earlier control forces in the field and use maneuver. Now we are talking of techno commanders who can control and utilize technology to cause that maneuver in multi-domains. Technology sovereignty. I think this Atmanirbharta has been adequately covered. Unless we get sovereignty in technology, we shall remain suboptimal. Cutting edge R&D, culture of innovation. Within the core, when we talk of walking the talk, we have IIT Ropar, we have IIM Amritsar, we have lovely professional university, we have Punjab Technical University. The ecosystem is not just restricted to meetings, conferences, workshops, demonstrations, or sharing of problem statement or a roadmap. An integrated roadmap, we have OEMs working with us. We have study teams of students from these institutes working with us for last 3 to 6 months on certain technologies which range from components to entire systems. Next. So if I was to conclude, the new line of control entails a web of connections where data, decision, and directions converge faster than the foe can react. Victory is not one who fights first, rather than the one who can think and act across multiple domains. So we talked of one mind, many dimensions, infinite possibilities. The one who can choreograph all this to end result, I think, will emerge victorious. It is time to walk the talk. Thank you. Jai Hind.